What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are covering something that gets overlooked pretty often when you're first learning how to drive a manual car. Depending on where you live and how the roads are designed where you live, just because you might not be encountering these things on a daily basis. What I'm talking about is the roundabout, or the circle of doom, as some would say. I'm just kidding, no one calls it that. But today we're gonna break down how to drive through a roundabout so that it's easy for you to understand. And we're gonna go over key points that will help you glide through these roundabouts with ease, so smooth that you might even end up drifting. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So there's really only 3 parts to this: entering the roundabout, driving through the roundabout, and exiting the roundabout. So approaching the roundabout. When you approach a roundabout, there's 2 main goals: speed control and gear selection. So when you're coming up to a roundabout, you want to make sure that you're slowing down and easing off the gas. And the main reason for this is because of something called centrifugal force. So whenever you're driving around a turn, a bend, a curve, a roundabout, your car is going to want to move in a straight line because of the inertia that the car has. You know, the car is a heavy object, so it's going to keep wanting to move in a straight line, even if you change the direction of the car. So centrifugal force is that sensation that pulls the car away into that straight line, even when you steer it the opposite direction. And this could get really bad because if you're attacking these roundabouts at really high speeds, the centrifugal force increases. So your car could potentially flip over. And you're not Tom Cruise, you're not shooting the next Mission Impossible movie, so there's really no need to be attacking these roundabouts at such high speeds. So before you come to a roundabout, like we said, you want to slow down, hit the brakes a bit if you need to, but you're aiming to enter this roundabout at around 20 to 30 kilometers per hour, which is around 12 to 18 miles per hour. So once you've slowed down, your next step is to downshift. Downshift to second gear. Why second gear? Well, almost every standard roundabout has been designed to be driven in second gear for manual transmission cars. So the reason why is because second gear gives you a decent amount of torque at low RPMs, which basically just gives you more precise control over your car, which is very important when you're driving through roundabouts or curves. So when you're downshifting, flip the throttle to 2000 to 2500 RPM so that when you actually shift into second, the engine will land around 1500 to 2000 RPM. And it's very important that you complete the downshift before you actually drive into the roundabout. You can set a marker for yourself to help you remember to complete that downshift before you actually drive into the roundabout. And you can use the yield sign as that marker. So before you break the plane of wherever that yield sign is, just remember, downshift beforehand and slow down beforehand. Okay, so we got the approach down. Now it's time for actually driving into the roundabout and around the roundabout. So the most important thing about driving through a roundabout is to make sure that you're in second gear for the whole thing. Because if you're switching gears in the middle of driving through a roundabout, it could destabilize the car. You know, you're putting unnecessary stress on the car when you really don't need to, right? Also, you want to make sure that you're at one consistent speed. This is because if you're decelerating or accelerating midway through the turn, it's going to throw your RPMs off and it's going to be harder for you to exit smoothly. So this brings us to our last part, which is exiting the roundabout. So as you're exiting the roundabout, you need to make sure that you're giving a little bit more gas, because whenever you're driving around a turn or a bend, you're gonna lose some speed. So to build that momentum, you need to apply a little bit of gas so that you have enough momentum built up to actually exit. Also, you need to make sure you're letting your steering wheel unwind naturally, right? You don't want to snap it back, or else you're going to lose control over the car. So once your steering wheel is all straightened out and you're driving straight, now is your time to shift up to third gear, and then you're on your merry way. All right, so for practice, try to find a spot where they have a bunch of roundabouts lined up in a row. They usually are. Or if you can't find a roundabout, try to find an empty open space where you can at least visualize a roundabout. Maybe put a marker somewhere in the middle and just travel along the radius of that marker. And again, practice the principles that we talked about. So there you have it. Now you officially know how to properly drive through a roundabout. So get out there and practice, because practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more it improves your muscle memory, and the more this is going to become second nature to you. You don't have to worry about remembering all the different steps that you need to take when you're actually driving through the roundabout. So if you have any questions or any suggestions for future videos, drop a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. That's all I have. We'll see you in the next video.